Welcome back to Operation Evil. This is episode 104, and I am calling it Where Are You? The Disappearance of Rachel Mellon Skemp.
Where are you?
That's exactly the song I had in my head when I was doing that. Yeah. Where are you? I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'm your host, Nyoka.
Oh, I'm Rachel.
You
Forgot I
always
still
do
was.
that.
I know. I was still singing the song in my head.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, where he says, "In my head."
You're really good at it. That was a good song for its time. It's still a good song. It can be. Anyway. If you're a new listener, and I know we have at least one new listener that I know of, and you know how I do know is because my father works with her and told her about the podcast since he saw that she was like a true crime fan and she's been listening. And thank you so much for listening and giving us a shot. We are so happy to have you here. Thank you. Just want to
Hope you
say that.
enjoy it.
I would
And
say
then
your
also
name, but I don't
Tommy.
know it.
Tommy too.
Yes. Trying to think if there's anyone else that I don't know. Not sure. But anyway,
Well, I know we give Tommy a shout out on Facebook. Did we actually give him one on one of the episodes
no, I
though?
don't think we have because I think this is the first one we've done since we got that. So thank you, Tommy. We appreciate that. And we really needed that on that day. It
Yes,
was like
those words were
perfect
needed.
timing. Yeah. So
hmm
thank you. Those kind words give such a long way. Like you have no idea how much we appreciate that stuff. Like
hmm
it made our day. That's all I can say about it. It made our day. Um, Before I jump in, I do want to warn you this episode is a cold case. There will be no resolution at the end of it. So if you could just pay extra attention, maybe someone who listens heard something, knows something. You never know. It's unsolved. And there may be a detail that stands out to someone who knows. But this is the story of Rachel Mellon Skemp. I got to know before I go into this, because I don't come across this. Is it weird to hear your name, but belonging to
Yeah.
someone else? Okay. I always wondered how that was for people because I don't go through that because my name's Nyoka. How many Nyokas am I in a room with? None.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I don't know how that feels.
Yeah, it's weird to say your name. Like, I've worked with several other Rachels, and it would be like, "Hey, Rachel. Hey,
Yeah.
Rachel."
And you spell your
Yeah.
name differently. So I felt like I was
hmm
spelling it wrong because I'm so used to the way you spell yours. It was really difficult. But okay, so this is the story of Rachel Mellon Skemp. In the very beginning, I played an audio clip, and what you heard was Rachel playing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star in her music class on a guitar. And that was videoed 20 days before she disappeared. Rachel Mellon Skemp was born on April 13th, 1982, to parents Amy Mellon and Jeff Skemp. Her father still recalls her birth as being the happiest day of his life. Side note, when she disappears, her parents are no longer together. They are living in different states and they separated when she was just a toddler.
Hmm.
So when she goes missing, she is living with her mother, Amy, her stepfather, Vince, and her two siblings, her younger siblings. So Amy and Vince, they married in 1986, and he helped raise Rachel since she was 3 years old. In
So he's been
19,
in her life a long time.
yeah, yeah, and her two siblings came from that relationship. So she was the only one with her mom and dad.
Gotcha.
In 1996, Rachel was 13 and she was a seventh grader at Ward Middle School. And before I go into that day and the events of her disappearance, I do want to mention a rumor that can be found online because, I tell you everything,
hmm
even if I'm not sure. But the rumor says that Rachel was seen crying at her locker the day before her disappearance. And when her friends asked her what was wrong, she only said that she had a problem, but she was going to take care of it herself.
Hmm.
Now, I didn't find this in like official newspaper articles or anything like that. So do what you want with that information. I mean, I think it's very possible that's true.
Yeah, it sounds plausible.
Yeah. So I just wanted to include it and you can do what you want with it. On January 31st, 1996, it's a freezing day. It's below 11 degrees and Rachel doesn't feel good. So she stays home from school. She says she has a sore throat, just feels ill, and thought it would be better to stay home and rest. That day, her mother was at work. Her younger siblings, they went to school, but her stepfather, Vince, was in between jobs at that time, so he was home. One of the last people to speak to Rachel that day was her grandparents, Ken and Lucy Skemp, on the telephone around 11 a.m. And I do want to include another rumor. They said that she was talking to her grandparents and they mentioned something like, "Is he there?" And she said yes, about her stepfather.
Hmm. So I guess these were Amy's parents.
No, it was her biological dad's parents.
Oh, okay.
So they were the last ones to speak to her on the phone. That was around 11. But the last one to see her was her stepfather, Vince, because he was home that day. Now, Vince said that they played video games earlier in the day and that he took their white German Shepherd dog named Duke out for a walk at about 2:30 p.m. and Rachel was wrapped in a blue blanket, taking a nap in her bedroom when he last saw her. Now, Vince said that when he left to take the dog for a walk, he left the door unlocked. Now, it's negative 11 degrees. Is that normal to take your dog for a walk? I don't know. I don't know. It's super cold, okay? Like negative 11 degrees cold.
I mean, I guess there's a lot of factors though. Like, did they have a fenced-in yard? Like, what kind of dog was it?
A German Shepherd.
So
I
we
don't know.
know they need a lot of exercise.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw that out there too. Like it's super cold. I don't know. I don't know what
Something
one
to
does.
ponder.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, apparently the dog broke loose and the dog broke loose to chase a rabbit and it was in a nearby field. And Vince decided to just return home without the dog 30 minutes later.
Is there rabbits out in the that cold of a weather?
No idea. No idea. But he was only gone for 30 minutes. He was like, he just assumed the dog could find his way back home.
Oh,
Like he
okay.
didn't bother like grabbing the dog and going home. He was just like, I'm not chasing it. I'm going home type of thing. I don't know. He'll find his way home, whatever. But a few minutes after he did get back to the house, a neighbor returned the dog. A passerby in a maroon or red car found the dog running around, alerted a neighbor who recognized the family dog. So that puts us at 3 p.m. that day, if he was gone 30 minutes.
Okay.
Now, he claims that when he came back to the house, he never checked on Rachel. So there's that. Rachel's younger brother and sister come home from school, and this was around 3:15. And her sister didn't see Rachel in her room, but she didn't say anything. She didn't tell her parents this until they noticed Rachel was missing around 5 p.m. when her mother, Amy, came home from work. Then they called the police around 6 p.m. So Rachel was missing, and so were two pillows, the slippers that she was wearing, and the blue blanket that she was wrapped up in. But what wasn't missing was any of her winter clothes, her coat, her shoes, money, a purse, her Walkman, like all the things that she would have normally taken with her.
Yeah, weird.
Very weird. How long could someone survive in weather like that too, without shoes, a winter coat, winter clothes? Like she's literally like in pajamas, basically, and a blanket.
Mm-hmm.
The family estimated that she disappeared between the times of 2:30 and 3:15 p.m. After Rachel's mother called the police, they arrived an hour later, and then they told her that they couldn't do anything for 24 hours.
Oh, here we go with that shit.
Yep, it's the way it used to be. Amy said at that time, quote, I'm really hoping she's safe somewhere. I just can't think the worst at this time, end quote. Now, Rachel ran away from home once before, but to stay away so long and without her belongings is out of character. And when she ran away, it was last spring, and she wrote a note and left the house for a 12-hour period. And she ran away because she was blamed for a broken household item that one of her younger siblings actually broke. And she ended up calling her step grandparents, who picked her up and took her home. Her mother said she would not leave without everything here, including her favorite jewelry. Rachel was last seen wearing yellow sweatpants, a pink sweatshirt, and slippers. She is an Asian female, 5'2" tall, 78 pounds, with dark brown hair and hazel eyes. She has a mole on the upper left side of her lip and her ears pierced. She may appear to be of Italian or Greek descent. Her hair was cut short at the time of her disappearance, but she often wore it shoulder length. Her neighbor described her as a beautiful child and that she looks a lot like a young Vanessa Williams. And you'll see
Oh,
that in the pictures that I post. She does. She does. Very pretty girl. Very pretty girl. Shortly after her disappearance, authorities did a door-to-door search. They looked at the nearby forest preserves. They interviewed her friends and family. When they interviewed Rachel's friends, they asked them about drug use and sexual relationships, but they were still young and innocent, and they only gossiped about cute boys, school, and shopping. Rachel's case was not handled by just the police department, but the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and the FBI were involved. To help find Rachel, friends and family gathered to pick up flyers and distribute them. And a few local pizza places also helped distribute more than 7,000 flyers. Don Turner, who was a manager at Domino's Pizza at the time, said, quote, my whole crew is involved. This hits just too close to home, end quote. In the first 2 months of her missing, no leads were coming in. Did she run away? Was this foul play? Her mother thinks Rachel was abducted. Her father says he still has hope, but feels more helpless every day for her return. Other people suspect that the stepfather vents of foul play. Another theory was that her relatives took her out of state. But none of these theories had any evidence or were proved wrong. There was no evidence of an intruder because remember, he left the door unlocked, so there wouldn't be. There was no evidence that he did anything horrible to her. There was no evidence that she went to live with relatives anywhere. They checked. She left behind items she wouldn't have left behind. So did she run away? I don't know. But there was no activity on her bank account since she disappeared. I'm going to fast forward to 1 year later. Now we're in 1997. After Rachel disappeared, her father, Jeff, moved. He was in like Dallas and they were in Chicago or whatever. And he moved to be close to where she was when she went missing because he felt like he could do more there than where he was. That makes sense to me.
yeah.
Jeff said his greatest fear is that he will go his whole life never having answers about Rachel. He
That would be a
fears,
terrible feeling.
oh, I know. He fears there was foul play involved, but police never got proof of that. At this point, her case was still considered a missing persons case. One change that did happen was that Amy, that's her mom, was issued a subpoena by the Will County grand jury because of her unwillingness to cooperate with authorities. She wasn't a suspect or target, but her and Vince weren't cooperating. I found that odd.
I wonder what they considered that, like how she wasn't cooperating.
They didn't elaborate. But why wouldn't you
That's what I
cooperate as
figured.
a parent? You know, like
Yeah.
why wouldn't you?
Did they mention anything about using like luminol or anything in the house?
No, they didn't do a good job because they treated it like a missing persons case.
Damn.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So now I'm going to take you to the year 2000, 4 years after her disappearance. Amy vowed to continue her own investigation into Rachel's disappearance. So far, she's had stakeouts in other states. She hired a private detective and trolled the internet for countless hours. The family says that more than 1,000 people claim to have spotted Rachel over the 4 years, but every tip has led to disappointment. Amy says, quote, "In my heart, my mother's instinct tells me Rachel is alive somewhere. Rachel, if you're out there listening, please call me and come home," end quote. However, on January 28th, 2000, police did obtain a court order to collect blood, saliva, and hair samples from Vince. They also collected a few items from the couple's new home because they moved since then. Vince was taken into handcuffs but released 9 hours later. No charges were filed. Now police are finally treating Rachel's case as a possible homicide. In February of 2000, Amy and Vince both appeared before a Will County grand jury. They did not speak to reporters afterward, but their attorneys state, quote, "We don't know what new evidence the police have that they didn't have 4 years ago, that they are not sharing evidence with everyone. He said it is painfully obvious that they are focusing on a single person. He said Amy did not invoke her Fifth Amendment rights against self-incrimination, nor did she invoke a claim of spousal privilege." Rachel's father, Jeff, said that he was glad to see some movement in the case. And he also stated, quote, "For the first time in 4 years, I am optimistic that a resolution may be at hand. In my heart, as well as in my mind, I've accepted quite some time ago that my daughter is dead, but I need some closure. The hardest part of these last 4 years is not knowing what happened," end quote. When concerned residents in the community asked Jeff if they should hold a candlelight vigil for Rachel this year, he said he didn't want mournful tributes. Instead, he requested that more flyers with his daughter's picture be printed and distributed. And he also asked schools and churches to post the flyers. And he also requested that instead of sending flowers, that they help police get more dogs trained to sniff out body remains and evidence. I thought that was really cool of him.
Yeah, very, very proactive.
Yeah. For the first time since she disappeared, Jeff was given a look at the police evidence pertaining to Rachel's possible homicide, including her diary and what he calls disturbing photos of a man who could be responsible. He said, quote, "It was obvious that she was being molested. It
Oh
made me
no.
physically sick." He said the diary contains explicit examples of what was allegedly done to her, when it took place, and where. In one entry, written months before she vanished, she wrote that Vince had kissed her and touched her inappropriately while warning her about predators and trying to show her what shouldn't happen until she's older.
That son of a bitch.
Mm-hmm. I also want to include that allegedly the police discovered a book called Daddy Kisses and a steak knife hidden under her bed. So after hearing something so horrible, right? It's horrible. I do have something positive to add. So on the 4th anniversary of Rachel's disappearance, U.S. Representative Judy Biggert of Hinsdale also asked the television show America's Most Wanted. I love how America's Most Wanted comes up in all our cases. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
A ton of them anyway.
Yeah. It's a trend.
Yeah. She asked that show, because I'm telling you, you guys, back in the day, that was what you did. You went to that show.
Yeah.
They made a difference.
I mean, it was either that or Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes. Both of them. So she went to America's Most Wanted to consider, like, have them consider doing a segment on her case. And she also began featuring Rachel's photo on all her official legislative envelopes. How cool is that?
How freaking smart is that?
I know. I thought that was brilliant. So Amy and Vince believe that the police decided to work on Rachel's case again because of this America's Most Wanted planning on doing a feature on the case. Their attorney said, quote, "It's my client's position that the police are trying to avoid the embarrassment of having not found the child, and they don't want to have that story on national television," end quote.
Why the
However,
fuck wouldn't you want it on national television?
is yeah. What was ironic though is that police jump-started the investigation long before this TV show thing even became a thing. So, good try there, bud. Authorities believe foul play was involved, and Vince was considered a possible suspect in her case for several years. He even had scratches on his body after her disappearance, which he said he got while repairing his car. Yeah. But they also,
Repairing the car in cold ass weather.
yeah, and getting scratch marks all over you. I'm not buying what you're selling. And then on top of that, he failed key parts of a lie detector test. The result of this, unfortunately, was that the grand jury investigation ended in 2000 without any indictments handed down.
Mm-mm.
I'm going to take you to 2001. Now we're 5 years after her disappearance. Rachel's father now says, quote, "Last year, I was optimistic that there would be an arrest in this case. That didn't happen. This year, she would be a senior in high school, and it should be the time of her life," end quote. Jeff believes Rachel's stepfather, who was home alone with her that day that she went missing, is responsible. He said to me, he's the primary number one suspect.
If he really did say that he last saw her wrapped up in a blanket, I
Mhm.
think it's awful ironic that he said wrapped up in a blanket.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point, Rachel. So Jeff said that he can't criticize. It's funny that you say that. Jeff said he can't criticize the police, but they missed the chance to find Rachel's body. He said, quote, "I think that if the police searched their garage the night that they first got called there, especially knowing how many times they've been called to that house, if they searched that garage and opened up the trunk of that car that didn't run, I bet they would find her right then and there," he said. End quote.
And what's so frustrating about that too is that that's like the number one thing. And not saying that it was him or the mom or anything. Like
Hmm.
don't mistaken us. Don't
Yeah.
sue us.
No.
But that you want them to roll you out because
Yes.
that's who they look at first. So why wouldn't they look through things like that? That's so messed up.
It is. It is. They missed out their chance. Like before they wouldn't touch it for 24 hours. Now we know how critical that first
Hmm.
24 hours can be. And
Yeah.
they miss all that precious time and they've moved from that house since then and everything else. I don't know. They definitely missed an opportunity. The I team spoke with retired police chief Bill Kushner, who solved several cold cases in his long career. Quote, "Sooner or later, time and guilt catch up with people. Maybe it's a family member that knew something and decided not to tell because they were trying to protect someone," he said. "Maybe it's the individual who realizes that they are getting down near the end of the road and they want to make peace. Somewhere there's a break." Vince and Rachel's mom, Amy, moved to Tennessee years ago. The phone numbers listed for the couple were either disconnected or there was no answer. I'm going to go into a little bit of Vince's background.
I've heard of people being scared to move from their house or to change their phone number if their child is missing.
Yeah, and they completely did all of that. They moved and they moved out of state for one, and now their phones are disconnected. I don't know. So let's talk about
Hmm.
Vince, right? Because he's not looking so good right now. Before Rachel's disappearance in 1990, Amy filed a police report and a restraining order against Vince for hitting her, pushing her down the stairs, and making verbal threats against Rachel. He has had a long history of domestic violence. After Rachel's disappearance In 2003, Amy called the police to tell them Vince had pushed and slapped his 15-year-old son during an argument. Vince was arrested for domestic battery. In August of 2006, Vince was sentenced to 200 days in Will County Jail for violating the sentencing terms of an unrelated domestic battery conviction. He was ordered to complete domestic violence counseling and undergo 75 hours of treatment for alcohol abuse. He was told to have no offensive contact with his wife and one of their two children. In December 2004, Vince pleaded guilty to domestic battery for hitting his wife, Rachel's mother, and one of their children. He was sentenced to 60 days in jail and was ordered to undergo anger management and domestic violence counseling. He was supposed to have psychological evaluations, which in turn triggered the requirement he undergo 75 hours alcohol abusive counseling. That conviction came 11 months after he pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of battery in another case involving one of his children. In the earlier case, he was sentenced to 2 years supervision. He completed only 15 of 26 domestic violence counseling classes and did not start the alcohol abuse counseling required for the December 2004 conviction. Also, in 2005, Vince pleaded guilty to misdemeanor theft and was ordered to serve 12 months in conditional discharge and pay $309 in restitution. In 2017, he was arrested for drunk driving. That's his history.
Damn. I mean, okay, one side of it, you could say, well, this is because of all the anguish, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side of it, it's like, well, maybe he was always like this.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're sorry for hitting your kid, wouldn't you go through with all the classes?
Exactly. But we already see that before she disappeared, there was domestic abuse in the house. So
Good
usually
point.
it
Yeah, yeah,
takes
yeah.
people a long time to even like make that first call.
Yeah,
What about if he did do something
true.
to her and Amy was just scared of him?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know. Maybe he didn't do anything at all, but his history doesn't look so great. But I do want to flip to some positivity and talk a little bit about Rachel. Rachel's best friend was Carrie Johnson. When Carrie grew up and had a child, she named her daughter after her. She named her daughter Isabel Rachel.
Oh,
I know, how sweet. Carrie described Rachel as smart, an honor student, and passionate about nature, clean air, and recycling. Her favorite class was science. Carrie likes to think that Rachel would have grown up to be an environmentalist. Carrie,
oh,
too.
we
Yeah,
know somebody who would have adored her.
right, we do. Carrie, too, believes that Rachel is dead, yet she still imagines Rachel walking in from the cold. She said, quote, "Her disappearance didn't end our friendship. I don't want her to feel like if she were to walk back into my life tomorrow or 10 years from now, that I don't want her to think we gave up," end quote.
Oh, that gave me goosebumps.
Mm-hmm. Carrie is one of about 20 volunteers who work with Rachel Find, a group founded by Rachel's father. Through its website, the organization provides information about Rachel and a few other cases. The group, which doesn't accept money, tries to fill an informational need to those who need guidance. One goal of the organization is to link police departments with resources for finding the missing, such as ground or canine search teams, or to connect families with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. The group has created public service announcements and flyers. Rachel Find tries to keep disappearance cases in the public eye and hopes someone will remember a critical clue. Her father, Jeff, shifts from knowing his daughter's case will go unsolved to believing a miracle may emerge. How sad.
Yeah.
So, in conclusion, Rachel's disappearance remains unsolved and no arrests have been made. Her disappearance is still being investigated as a homicide. If Rachel was alive today, she would be around our age. She would be 41 years old. Her father settles for reminders of Rachel. One reminder is when he hears a song by Alanis Morissette from Jagged Little Pill. He said that was in her CD player when she disappeared. He said, quote, I went into her room and her Walkman was hanging on the bed and I put it on and that album was blasting. Last time I talked to her on the phone at Christmas that year, she said, Dad, I graduated from pop music to alternative rock and roll. And I said, my baby's growing up. Lastly, and this one got to me, in case of some off chance, Jeff keeps his phone number listed in case Rachel ever tries to contact him. And that's it. That will do it for this week's episode.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That last part.
I know. It's so sad. And I got more audio for you guys if you want to stay tuned at the very end of the episode when the music's over and everything. I have included, it was, okay, so I included audio of her loved ones and teachers and people that really cared about her over the years at this ceremony they did for her. It was like a tree and time capsule ceremony. And they spoke a little bit about her, and it's very positive. And I felt like I'll include it at the end if you guys want to listen, because it's probably about 4 to 5 minutes long.
Is it just like little tidbits about Rachel and their feelings?
Yeah. It's like 5 or 6 people speaking. It was very, very nice. And I actually found it on that Rachel Find. They had a YouTube channel. There's not many videos there. I don't know if the organization still exists, but it was very sweet to see that. So I will put that audio at the end.
That's so amazing though that all these people are still doing what they can to be proactive and keep her name out there looking.
Yep. And on Facebook, they over the years they will do an age progression of what she would look like. So there are pictures where they thought what she would look like as a young adult and so forth. So keep an eye out for that. If you don't follow us on Facebook, give us a follow. That would mean the world to us. But anyway, if you can't get enough Operation Evil, consider supporting the podcast by joining our Patreon. The link is in the show notes, and you can look at all the different tiers. And we have probably like 30 episodes or so that you can binge on. Also, you'll get a shout out from us, which is cool. If you can't, and you still want to support us, follow us on Facebook. Tell your friends about us. Anything like that is very much appreciated.
We're trying our best to get to 1,000 followers on Facebook.
I know. I don't know why we're struggling so much, because I think that Facebook is just not a big thing for the younger generation.
We need to get a TikTok.
Like we're not as cool, I guess. But it's so easy for me to just hop on Facebook and do everything on there. Whatever, though. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Follow us, though.
But it's fine.
But it's fine. It's fine. Anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back next time with a new episode. Goodbye.
Bye.
Rachel disappeared on January 31st, 1996, when she stayed home from school. With the planting of Rachel's tree and time capsule, Wolford Park will become a place where Rachel's friends can go and remember her.
Rachel disappeared. Some people might say that her case is cold. I say just the opposite. Time is absolutely on Rachel's side. I believe that someday someone will step forward with a piece of information that will absolutely lead to her case being solved. At that point, we will see that justice is served. The people who love her will have closure, and Rachel will receive the dignity and respect that she deserves.
In the remembrance of National Missing Children's Day, your word is, God, when you said, let all the children come unto me. Even though we may not know where Rachel is, but you know. And we just praise and thank you, dear God, that you keep her safe wherever she is. We're not going to say that there is something bad that's happened to her. We're just saying she's missing. But we just praise and thank you, God, that you protect all the children. Keep the violence away from our children, dear God, because you know that someday they may serve you and serve the people that you have in place. We praise and thank you today for National Missing Children Day, because you know where our children are, even if we may not. Thank you, God.
Several people I want to thank for keeping Rachel's spirit and memory alive for all these years. First of all, I want to thank Representative Bigger, the village of Bolingbrook, Mayor Claire. I also definitely want to thank Detectives Terry Briley and Tom Ross, who have worked tirelessly towards giving us the closure that we all need, and for Rachel's justice. I want to thank Ann Drale and Ann Bilby, who have worked a lot towards putting this tree and this plaque together and putting this program together. But most of all, I want to thank all of you who are here and who have always remembered my daughter, Rachel. We're here today to remember her, and wherever she is, to let her know that we still love her. And we're also here to make sure that no other family has to go through this, because there's thousands of missing children throughout the United States, throughout the world. And like Mr. Each said, watch your children, know where they're at, be careful. Thank you.
First, I'd like to say another prayer for Rachel, if everybody could, please. Lord Almighty God, we thank you for this day. We know you are the greater of all things, and there is nothing hidden from you. We know that you, Lord, know where Rachel is and that we trust in your perfect timing when you reveal this to us. Until then, we pray for your patience, strength, and endurance. I also just wanted to say that when I heard about this and they told me I could put something in a time capsule, I really didn't know what to put in a time capsule. There's nothing really that you could put in that could describe the way things have been the past couple of years. I just want to say to everybody that thank you for being here and supporting her like all of our group of friends have done. She was a great person. We all still miss her and think about her every single day. Thank you.
I was Rachel's teacher. I think this is wonderful. She was a wonderful spark in our classroom, and obviously for all of the friends that are here that still remember her 6 years later, I think it's wonderful. And I know how much they miss her, and I hope we can keep this alive until something is decided on what happened to that beautiful child. I was Rachel's music teacher. My name is Virginia Ireland, and I turned over a video to the police of her playing the guitar. She was such a sweet little girl. She used to come into the classroom, then she used to say, "Welcome to music class, welcome to music class." Of course, this was before the bell, and then everyone would sit down. And she just was so outstanding as a musician. I was totally shocked. All of us were crying when she was missing that day. And wherever you are, may God be with you. I'm so sorry that this happened to such a sweet little girl.